Hi guys. So this week, my mum Sue is going to read to you, so you can see what it's like. Because sometimes it's nice for someone else to read you. So I'm going to lie here and listen to my mother Sue reading chapter 4.
Chapter 4 How to Demolish a Pyramid. Been awake forever. That's what it feels like. I must have slept at some point because it's morning, but I don't feel as if I have. It is now 5:30. 5:30. What sort of stupid time is that? I was okay at first. After Maisie's visits, I went to sleep all night. All right, but something woke me about 4 a.m. and my brain started thinking. And once that happened, I was wide awake. I've never liked horror films. I don't like scary things, but my head kept on replaying this horror film, Death in the Supermarket. I went through it again and again. There was me shopping, there was the tomato pyramid, and there was the man. Then, disaster. Thunderous banging, a red explosion like magma from a volcano, relentless. He didn't have a chance. Helpless horror. I simply stood there aghast, and at the end, buried beneath it all, was the body. Everything freezes for a second. A woman screams. People shout and begin to move. Someone rushes forward. I move backward, slowly at first, then a bit faster, and then I'm running away, then zip, play again. There was me shopping. There was the tomato pyramid. There was the man who was going to die. On and on it went. I fought my brain trying to think of something else, trying to force my mind on to do something cheerful and ordinary, something simple and everyday, like eating supper and plates and knives and forks and ping. Do you know what came into my mind? A fork stuck in a bottom. Why does your mind do things like that? Maybe yours doesn't, but mine does. I just wanted to think of something every day, and what do I get? A fork in my bottom. I'm rather embarrassed to admit that this is something that really happened. I sat on a fork. I did. Not a garden fork, a dinner fork. What an idiot. I mean, what kind of person goes around sticking forks in his bum? To cut a long story short, the fork was on a chair and I didn't see it and I sat down and then got up again very quickly and with an awful lot of noise because there was a fork sticking in my backside. My jackside. Definitely a jacksident. It really hurt, I tell you. Forks are no joke. So, back to the hospital. The nurses were really nice. They didn't laugh because they could see how painful it was, and there was blood and everything. And do you know what the nurses said? They said they get lots of injuries like that. Lots of injuries like forks in bottoms. How stupid can people be? As stupid as me. The prong marks stayed there for weeks. Not that I showed anyone, although I think Mum must have told Mrs. Fetlock what had happened, because for some while after that, every time I was annoying her, she'd fix me with a stare, raise one eyebrow, and pat her backside a couple of times. Oh, yes, it was pure blackmail, and it worked for a few weeks too. See what I mean? In the middle of the night, if you're awake, you end up thinking a load of old rubbish. At least it got my mind off the Death in the Supermarket horror film, and I must have fallen asleep eventually. The tea lady, Mrs. Noseworthy, woke me up with a drink and the news that my parents were coming to see me, so the nurse would be in soon to give me a bed bath. That made my day. Lucky me. I don't suppose it's ever occurred to you to wonder how you do things when you have to lie in bed 24 hours a day. You still have to go to the loo and everything. Even Ben worked that one out and he asked all about it when he came in with Mum and Dad on his first visit. Mum and Dad left him with me while they went to get a cup of coffee. You have to stay in bed all day? He asked. Yes. How do you go to the toilet then? I pointed to the special plastic jug on my bedside table. How does that work then? I'm not going to show you. No, but how do you know? Well, I put it under the covers and pee into it. Okay. Wow, cool. Can I have a go? No. Ben picked up the jug and peed into it, frowning. What about the other stuff? How do you get that in? He asked. Ben always liked to get straight to the bottom of things. I'm going to kill myself in a minute. The nurse brings a bedpan and slips it under me. What does that look like? I had to think for a moment. The closest I can think of is an unidentified flying object, but a bit smaller, obviously small enough to fit beneath me. Wow, cool. I gazed at my brother in disbelief. Bedpans were cool? You wouldn't say that if you'd ever had to use one, I answered acidly. At that point, Mum and Dad returned from the cafeteria and Ben jumped up excitedly. Jack has to use an unidentified flying poo ball, he exclaimed. I wish I had one. Dad rolled his eyes, groaned and gave me a sad look. Honestly, Jack, did you have to tell him things like that? Ugh, my fault again. Well, sorry. So you can see from that how much fun we had in hospital, and today it was my turn for a bed bath, and all because Mum and Dad were coming in. You want to spell nice for your parents, don't you? Asked Tricia, slipping the waterproof sheet between me and the bed. Tricia's a nurse. Come on, keep up. Hospitals are busy places with lots and lots of staff. Why are they taking me out to a fancy restaurant? You're such a clown. Do I have to have a bath? Yes, you do. Suppose your girlfriend turns up. She won't like you to be all whiffy, will she? I haven't got a girlfriend, I answered. What about Maisie? She's taken a shine to you. That was news to me. How do you know? I asked. I thought she didn't speak to anyone. That's right, but she writes things down and shows them to Kathy or me. I don't know why she likes me, I murmured. Well, neither do I, laughed Tricia. Anyhow, Kathy's bringing her down later. She wants to see you. There, all done. My, you do smell sweet. Yuck, I said. Sure enough, an hour later, Kathy and Maisie turned up. Kathy left Maisie with Tricia and came across to have a word. She explained that Maisie didn't speak and they didn't know why, but for some reason she'd seemed to have taken a liking to me. So I thought it might be a good idea if I brought her down so she didn't have to sneak off and I know where she was. She'd just like to sit near you. Is that okay? Well, I'm not going anywhere. It might be your sense of humour she likes, laughed Kathy. I'll go and fetch her. Maisie came and sat on the chair next to my bed. I shall leave you two to natter, said Kathy. If you want me, I'll be over at the desk. Natter? How do you natter with someone who won't speak? What's the point in talking to someone who doesn't even answer? Maisie sat there. I lay there. There was a long silence. I tried to think of something to say. They think you're my girlfriend, I said coldly. Maisie's face broke into a grin. She even squeaked, a sniggery sort of squeak. I clasped my hands behind my bed and glanced at her. I don't think we should marry, I said very seriously. Not yet. I think we should wait until I'm old enough, until I'm about 350. This time she doubled up and gave a great snort of laughter. It was good when she laughed. Obviously she could make some noises, and that cheered me up. How old are you? I asked Maisie. And Maisie held up her hands. I'm 11. My parents are coming in later. I have to have a bed bath because of them coming in. I hate bed baths. Do you? Maisie didn't seem to know what a bed bath was. Right. Of course you can bath yourself, can't you? But I'm stuck in this bed with my leg and I'm not allowed to move. So the nurse baths me in bed. I nodded across at Kathy. Maisie grinned and bit her lower lip. Obviously she didn't fancy a bed bath any more than I did. Do your mum and dad come to see you? Maisie shook her head. She seemed cross and gazed at the floor. Don't they come in at all? I asked, but she wouldn't look at me. I thought I'd better change the subject. I broke my leg, the top bone, and I've got to stay here for ages before I'm allowed up. I have to stay on my back all day long, and I'm hacked off. Been here 4 weeks already, so I might be able to get up soon. Maisie stopped staring at the floor. She reached over, touched my leg gently, and looked at me inquiringly. You want to know what happened? She nodded, and before to tell her, she nodded, and I began to tell her, and before I knew it, I was telling her everything, the whole death in the supermarket scenario. Maybe I felt safe because she couldn't speak. Maybe that was why. Whatever I told her everything. Mum sent me to get some milk from the supermarket. I went on my bike. 27 years, I added proudly. But Maisie just shrugged. You don't know much about mountain bikes. Never mind. In the supermarket, there was a special display. A big pyramid of tomato tins, right the way up to the ceiling. Absolutely gigantic. There must have been at least 1,000 tins. 3,000. I bet they were up all night building that. Must have taken them hours. Then they'd done it for a competition. Guess how many tins in our tomato pyramid and win a trip to Italy. Something like that, perhaps. I took a deep breath. Maisie was listening intently. I leaned even closer and lowered my voice. The thing is, I swallowed a couple of times. I think my basket, I am a bit clumsy and I'm always having accidents, and my basket must have caught the edge of the pyramid, or maybe it was my foot. Maisie's eyes bulged as she fixed them on me. I gave a little nod. There was an old man. He was standing next to the pyramid, reading a competition leaflet and trying to count the tins. Anyhow, I must have clipped the edge of the pyramid and it toppled over. The whole thing, thousands of tins of tomatoes. They came crashing down. It was horrible. I leapt back, tins tumbling everywhere, and when I looked where the pyramid had been, there was just an enormous piles of tins and I dropped my voice to an almost silent whisper. There was a mountain of tins, and right at the bottom, underneath everything, was a pair of legs, just his feet, and they weren't moving. Maisie slowly took her hand away from her mouth. It had fallen open. The colour had drained from her face, her eyes wide with alarm. Bedpans, she said.
Ah, excellent. So, guys, it's quite nice to be read to, just like when you guys read to me in class. I absolutely love it, but I'm not normally lying down in class. Anyway, we'll say thanks to Sue, and we will be back in class. Thank you, Sue. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.